This wasn't originally part of my plan for the train simulation history, but I found an older, more authentic version of Mechanik. I think technically this is a little bit newer than the other one, but it's based on the original from the early 90s. This release is from 1997. You can see that Cornish Steam Enterprise released it. The options menu doesn't work, but the About menu does work. So I'll jump to that in a minute. You actually get Enter on this by clicking FN Enter on a laptop keyboard. So these are the developers. I didn't know anything about these guys. I still sort of don't know anything about them. But these photos would be, of course, very old at this point, 20 years old. Posing in Polish trains here. Not all of which are the EN57 EMU from the game. In theory, this is supposed to be a serious simulator. You can see how it's endorsed by some driving schools, or at least one anyway. Again, I'm not like an expert on the game. A lot of other simulators have followed and of course have made it somewhat obsolete. But I ended up doing a playthrough of this one, much longer than the French version, because this one actually works, provided that you mix the files from the download for this, called Mechanik Deluxe, and the French version. This one apparently is missing files in its most basic form. I just assumed that was my highball instruction just now, so I'm starting. I don't actually know any Polish. I know bits and pieces that sound a little bit like Czech, but I'm pretty lost in this simulator in terms of the language. I'm having to take educated guesses. This particular line, which is simulated, I guess it's the only one in this version, is very, very slow. You start out in this apparently main line, but then you end up on a single track branch line with a 40 km/h speed limit. The Z through M keys are your throttle notches. Your up and down arrows are your air brakes. Your horn is a two-tone horn, A and S. And then your acknowledgement for your alerter is your space bar. I just clicked it. And there are some other controls too. This is a pretty complete simulator, but because I don't have an instruction manual for it, I can't do it proper justice. I just basically very cautiously eased this train through the route. And this is the fastest I drove because the speed limit very soon drops first to 90 km/h and then to 40. Then it's a crawl to the first station on the line where I end the playthrough. That meant that I had to do this in 3 parts because it took a long time to get there at only 40 km/h. Getting the screen aspect ratio for the playthrough right was very difficult too. You can see how the top is cropped off and the bottom has got this black space, sort of. This is the best compromise that I could come up with, unfortunately. DOSBox normally imports pretty well into Open Broadcaster, but as I've said previously, there are often issues, especially with 1990s games. So here you have the pretty nice sound, actually. There's a bridge sound. I assume there's a tunnel sound, although I didn't find any tunnels on the route. In fact, in some ways, the sound for this is better than in ORM trains. Graphics, they were good for the 90s. This might be the best graphics of any train simulator from the 90s. Both of You Driver was very nice too, BVE. It's also abbreviated. BVE has very nice graphics. Always has. Although the earlier versions of BVE look a little bit like cutout photographs placed strategically around like a pop-up book. I mean, the newer versions of BVE are far better, which stands to reason. So here I have an approach signal. In America, that would mean 30 miles an hour. Here I'm going to do 50 kilometers per hour if possible. I was fairly lucky in that I didn't get any reds which actually stopped me on this route. They kept flipping over to yellow or green the whole route, so I didn't actually get delayed that way. I don't know what my scheduled arrival at the final station is supposed to be, or even what the final station is called. But it's basically a crawl for most of the route. 40 kilometers per hour. Extremely slow for a electrified route, you know, that's theoretically modern. Wouldn't be so surprising for a freight route in the United States. I mean, that would be very typical, actually. But very slow for a passenger route in Europe with electrification. Very slow for a passenger route, period, really. Many tram lines in Prague are actually faster, actually. There's some where they do 50 kilometers per hour. I don't know what all these terms for the throttle notch positions are. I understand 1, 2, and 3, but I don't understand what these other words are. I think that even if I put them through Google Translate, I always think, what does that mean? I think some of the lower notches might be regenerative brake, because I found that I can reduce my speed pretty well if I use them. You notice you get a red light on the panel there. That would make sense, actually, because a lot of EMUs have one control for the power and for the regenerative brakes. There's one quadrant, if that's the word. You don't actually have to throw any other switches to activate the regenerative. That's the case with the EMU in, well, the EMU that I will demonstrate in BVE. You'll see that later, in a later playthrough. There is what we would call an approach limited in the United States. So that would be, depending on the rulebook, 40 or 45 miles an hour, assuming that you will have to stop in 2 signals. So here I'm gonna not worry about it because I'm only going 40 kilometers per hour anyway. Slower than for an approach. Just be aware that I have a stop signal and 2 signals. So I'm creeping up on the signal here because I can't read it very well, but as you can see, it's an approach. I have to acknowledge it there, but really not anything to worry about. The line is so slow it almost doesn't need signaling. But here I'm doing a meet. And this is actually the end of this part. It's the logical place to cut it off. So I'll see you in the next playthrough.